Hello again. This is Professor Marsh talking to my Accounting 220 students, and this is the quiz review for Chapter 4. So let's go ahead and go get your quizzes out, and we'll go through the the quiz and the answers. The first question, and remember this was an all multiple choice test, and as you probably noticed, I base my questions sequentially going through the chapter, looking for topics that I want to test, which are the important points that are in your chapter. And so the reason that I do the test the way I do is to encourage you to note the important points that we want to remember as you work your way through the semester and learn managerial accounting. You'll also notice that I usually vary the questions a bit, or at least I do occasionally, especially if they're the odd numbered questions where there's an answer set. I like to mix up the answers and to just make sure that you're actually reading and learning and thinking about what you're doing, and not just copying down the odd numbered correct answers from the answer key. So anyhow, we'll kind of march through this together, and I'll explain the correct answer. So question number one was, which of the following product situations is better suited to job order costing than to process costing? And the correct answer was C, the third one. The costs are easily traced to a specific product. So we're back in chapter 4 talking about job order costing. And this, is the classic job shop where each of the products is usually accompanied by a job order cost worksheet, and you can trace at least most of the costs, except for overhead, to a specific product. Okay, question number 2. And a job order costing system is most likely used by which of the following? And you have the choice of a pet food manufacturer, a paper manufacturing company, an accounting firm specializing in tax returns, which is right out of the book, and that's the correct answer, or an earbud manufacturing company. You'll notice that if you think about how things are done, an accounting firm does a tax return one at a time. Usually there's a preparer and a reviewer, and they both charge time to the return, even if they charge the client a flat fee. And the other companies are obviously things, pet food, paper manufacturing, or even earbuds are typically made in a production line. And so we'll get to those issues next time when we get to chapter 5 on process costing. Okay, number 3. Which of the following is a prime cost? And the correct answer was the last one, direct labor. And you also find that right out of the diagram, that Venn diagram, and the discussion that accompanies it in your text. And then the next question may have been also right out of that same discussion. Number 4, which of the following is a conversion cost? Well, we have raw materials, direct materials. Those are not. Those are prime costs. You've got administrative expenses. No, that's overhead, and not manufacturing overhead. It's administrative overhead. And then you've got factory depreciation expenses, and that is manufacturing overhead. So that's a conversion cost. Okay, and that was right out of the same area of your book. Number 5, during production, to what are the costs in job order costing applied? And you have a choice of manufacturing overhead, no. Cost of goods sold, no. Each individual product, yes. Each individual department, no, that's going to be chapter 5 also. So The correct answer is C, the third one, each individual product. I'm going to have to see what I can do as far as getting the letters to show for the answers here. I may just have to start typing those in. Okay, number 6. Which document lists the inventory that will be removed from the raw materials inventory? Is it A, a job cost sheet? No, that's not right. Is it B, a purchase order? No, that's not it either. Is it C, a materials requisition form? That's really the correct answer. But I think you could have you could have said a job cost sheet, because that does show the raw materials and the inventory that'll be removed from raw materials. So I gave back everyone a point on that. So even if you got it right, materials requisition form, you got 1 point back on that. There were several people who missed that, and I can understand why. It probably wasn't the best written question, so maybe it should have, been should have taken the one about labor or overhead, perhaps. So, anyhow, number 7. Which document shows the cost of direct materials, direct labor, and overhead applied for each specific job? Now, we've got the job cost sheet, so you can see if you were doing number 6 and number 7 kind of together, you can see the refinement of the answer and why materials requisition was best just for materials, and job cost sheet now is the correct answer, the only correct answer for number 7. In number 8, which document lists the total direct materials used in a specific job? And we've got the job cost sheet. Also could have had the materials requisition form, but of course there can be multiple materials requisition forms. And not all the time, although we did it in our examples, we had all the materials come in at the beginning of the job. But as we will see throughout the semester, that oftentimes materials come in at different processes at different points during the creation of the product, even in a job order cost system. Number 9, to calculate materials used in production, one begins with beginning materials inventory, then makes the following adjustments. This was just to get you to go back into the chapter and to see the equation that was being used for this particular calculation of materials used in production. And so the correct answer is the first one, what I usually call A. You add the net materials purchased and you subtract the ending raw materials inventory. And of course, that's the old way to do things. Usually today you're going to have specific identification. You're going to have, probably QR codes or, RFIDs or barcodes at least, tracking what you're doing and where in the process it's occurring. But sometimes you have to do the accounting manually, and so that's what you would do. Okay, number 10, we're up to in a job order cost system, which account shows the overhead used by the company? And that's the first choice, manufacturing overhead. That's kind of almost it's so simple. It's maybe a little deceptive, but it's not cost of goods sold. No, that's the calculation of the total absorbed cost of what's sold. Finished goods inventory. No, that's not correct either. And so it's manufacturing overhead. The flow of costs from raw materials to cost of goods sold is, and you can go through the first 3, but the correct one is the 4th. This is the production process in a job order cost system. And so you can see that that is the correct order of all those little boxes in the diagrams that we went through as we analyzed the production process. So that's the correct answer on 11 is the last one. Letter D, or just the last one, raw materials inventory to work in process inventory to finished goods inventory to cost of goods sold. That's how the costs are accounted through the system, how they flow. Number 12, if at the end of the accounting period there is a balance in the manufacturing overhead account, then the following has occurred. If there's a debit balance and the overhead is underapplied, right, you've got an asset account, but the assets are gone. Anyhow, if there's a credit balance, then the overhead is considered overapplied overhead, and you have to make the other adjustment. So that's that. And the other two answers, B and C, are wrong, so it's not none of the above. It's A, the first answer. Number 13, in a job order cost system, raw materials purchased are debited to which account? And that goes to the raw materials inventory, another one that's pretty simple. I don't think anyone got that wrong. In a job order cost system, factory wage expense is debited to which account? And so your choices are raw materials inventory. Well, that's not right. And cost of goods sold. No, it's got to go through the process. Finished goods inventory. No, not really, because the goods are still being worked on. So it must be work in process inventory, and that is the correct answer. So B for number 14, the second answer. In a job order cost system, indirect labor is debited to which account? And your choices are work in process inventory, finished goods inventory, manufacturing overhead, which is the correct answer, cost of goods sold. So as it comes out of indirect labor, the first place it goes is into manufacturing overhead, and then it will be applied to work in process inventory as the process is complete. Which of the following is true of a job order cost system for a service entity? And the correct answer is B. Overhead is called operating overhead. And that's true for a service entity. That's basically the big difference is we don't call it manufacturing overhead because there's no manufacturing. We call it operating overhead. And that's your quiz. So let's see if we got all of this correct. And I think we did. There we go. And well done. So that's the quiz for Chapter 4. And now let's go on to the homework in the next video. So I'll talk with you again soon. Have a super day, and good luck on your midterms.